Lots of watches and warnings up tonight from Oklahoma on northeastward to the lower Great Lakes. Winter storm warnings, flash flood watches in northern Pennsylvania and parts of upstate New York, and some winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings for well up north into the northeast. We've got wind to deal with. We've got snow probabilities to deal with and freezing rain probabilities to deal with. And then, of course, there's severe weather. And I'm sitting right in the middle of an enhanced zone for tomorrow. And that is the highlights of tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. They still got snow blowers, spreaders, shovels, mag ice pellets and flakes, Pellido, calcium deicer, and still plenty of rock salt if winter comes knocking at the door again. And you know what, folks? It just might. So get to Omni, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. And, of course, we all know that the website is
OmniTrueValue.com. And welcome back, Joe.
Yes, well, thank you. Let me just get. I'm maneuvering here, folks. This is going to be one of those, because I resolved one technical issue that took me forever to fix, which was the bombardment of my website. And now, of course, yesterday I went to do a few things in my normal way, Joe, to set up shows for Weather in 5 and for the Joe and Joe Weather Show. And lo and behold, the print screen key is not working right. So everything comes up black. So I've tried every fix that's out there because apparently it's quite common in Windows 10 and Windows 11. And guess what? The fixes don't work for me. So I have more investigating to do. So I had to spend time finding an end around, and I sort of did. So we'll see how it goes. The show's going to be a little bit different tonight in terms of the graphics. But I'm sitting in an enhanced risk of tornadoes, Joe. I'm in the central time zone in Mississippi.
And you are, yeah, that's right. You're still down south a ways in the deep south, and you're going to have lots of fun tomorrow if things turn out the way the folks over at Norman, Oklahoma Storm Prediction Center have mapped it out for you. So maybe you ought to go outside, from time to time tomorrow and make some recordings of the sky conditions. And, if you happen to see a funnel or two, record that and put it on tomorrow night.
If I see a funnel or two, I'm going in the other direction. I am not down here storm chasing. I'm here taking care of some family issues, and I am hopefully headed back tomorrow. So that'll be a plus, and hopefully I will get back in time so that we could do a show tomorrow night. So at least for the areas for the Northeast and the Northern Mid-Atlantic states, it's going to be rain and it's going to be some wind. I think they've already got the high wind watch up for the eastern half of Long Island, for Suffolk County, for southeastern Connecticut, and out for the Cape. I'm thinking they might throw up the wind advisory tomorrow for some areas. Wouldn't surprise me, particularly for late tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. I don't know what your thinking is on all of that.
My thinking is, what was the name of the person who used to badger us and used to call out people who gave out bad forecasts? Remember, what was that person's name?
Oh God, I don't know.
Remember from a year ago, and we used to kid him.
Wait, there was we had the perpetual snow expert Smata Mott, but no longer with us. It was what was his name? Little Lord Fauntleroy. Mr. Reuben Fairchild.
Mr. Reuben Fairchild. May I now create a new award as of tonight? the Mr. Reuben Fairchild Award tonight going to Mr. Tom Contino,
who says
who on the chat board says, hope Joe Rayo addresses his bad forecast from Sunday. He said, as far as extremes are concerned, the most that any one location could receive is 2 inches. The least is nothing at all.
You already did.
Mr. Contino, first of all, that wasn't my forecast. I posted on Facebook, Joe, the National Weather Service forecast map, which had on average for most areas of our region approximately 1 inch. And I also mentioned that if you go to the
Me
extremes, and they
too.
do this, they do this at the National Weather Service, they provide you with what basically is a consensus forecast, and then they give you the extremes. And on one extreme, for all the areas on Sunday, they had zero, zero. On the other extreme, they had 2 inches. They didn't have much more than that in any one given spot, either on Long Island or on the Hudson Valley, New York, 2 inches. And I said on Sunday that that particular forecast was the National Weather Service's idea of what is going to happen for the day, for Sunday. Of course, it turned out that it was a bit more than that. In fact, some places on Long Island, some places in the Hudson Valley picked up more than 2 inches. But it wasn't,
Some places
like
on
I
Long
said,
Island picked up close to 6,
right, right.
which is
But
more than
again, what I,
which is 3 times more than 2.
which now, admittedly, and I think you too, we were both siding with the idea that the Weather Service pretty much was on target with that. But again, when I said that on Sunday, I made and drew attention. It's still on my Facebook page. If you want to scroll back a few days, you'll see I put their forecast up, their forecast map. I really didn't feel like putting up a map. I said, well, this is such a relatively minor event. Yeah, so we underestimated, but that forecast really that statement was in regard to the maps that was put up by the National Weather Service, not by yours truly. But
All right.
anyway, I know that if Mr. Reuben Fairchild were here, he would have jumped all over and looked for the correct interpretation, so to speak. And of course, you remember with Reuben Fairchild, every day he was calling out one forecaster on television or radio or another, saying he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong. Oh, he's terrible. So the Reuben Fairchild Award for tonight, the Mr. Reuben Fairchild Award for tonight goes again to Tom Contino. Tom, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the fact that,
Look,
yes, we did underestimate that Sunday storm. For most people on the chat board, it pretty well is now something in the past. But if you're looking for me to get on my knees and beg forgiveness of getting the forecast wrong, Tom, I am sorry, and I'll never do it again. All right.
By the way,
done.
we took our Mia couples on Sunday because if you remember Sunday morning, there were areas north and west of the coast, like in northwest Jersey, and through you points north and west that got 3, 4, 5 inches. And then when the afternoon went by and going into the evening, the coast wound some coastal areas, not so much coastal Jersey, but Long Island certainly, southern Connecticut, southeastern Connecticut, and points east. Did double what was because I had a final call on Saturday night and I had 2 to 3, fairly not a large swath of 2 to 3 inches. I did not go far enough north and west of it. Way off north and west, not far
And
enough.
if you remember on Sunday, what was the first thing that came out of my mouth on Sunday?
You were angry.
You said you were angry. I was angry. I admitted that this was not a forecast that went very well for anybody, actually. And in fact, I even used the Gomer Pyle analogy because many times when I was on News 12 and we had a setup where I'd call for an inch or two and we ended up with 4 or 5, I'd always hear Jim Neighbors in my head doing his Gomer Pyle. Surprise, surprise, surprise. But I was more angry than anything else on Sunday, though, because up until the day before, for example, the NAM was only going for a few hundredths of an inch of liquid precipitation. Mm-hmm. And then at the last minute, they went, oh, wait a minute. We're giving about 2 to 3, 0.2 to 0.3 inches of liquid precip, which would have translated into 2 to 3 inches of snow. And, you get upset when the models lead you astray, so to speak. So it's not that, either you or I ignored it. No, but what really set me off here with the Reuben Fairchild Award is when it was when Tom said, "I hope that Joe Rayo addresses his bad forecast." Tom, guess what?
We
Were you
did.
here on Sunday? We did. I did. Okay. I want to just. That's it.
All right, look,
That's ancient history.
I'm just gonna add one more thing. The whole setup for Sunday was had disaster written it all over from a forecast standpoint from the onset. You had you had the upper trough doing one thing. You had the coastal redevelopment and the low on the wave offshore doing another. Models handled both of those not well. And as we said on Sunday, and I'll say it again, that forecaster from WPC who last Thursday night had that swath of 4 inch, probability of at least four in pretty
Right.
much of the exact area where it fell Saturday night into Sunday morning was one of the best WPC forecasts ever, in my view, if only because of the fact that it came and it was against pretty much every piece of guidance that was out there. And you and I struggled on Thursday trying to say, okay, how did he get to this when
Right.
when we had nothing showing it? But you know what? That is why that's the reason why model casting can be such a disaster, and that's what a lot of people do. If the models don't show it, I'm not going to say it. Here's a guy. I remember he's an Italian last name. Here's a guy who knew his stuff, looked at what was going on, and figured it out.
Fracasso.
Yes, Mr.
Remember
Fracasso,
right.
and he
One of the
figured
chief
it out. And
one of the chief forecasters.
big
Yeah.
big kudos to him. So
There you go.
let us now move on, as you said. So let's get us out of the frame here, and let's get the forecast page in the frame. And I'm going to go to. I just want to scroll back a little bit here. Let's get to the beginning. I don't know why this is going in only one direction when I'm moving. I'm moving this thing backwards and it's moving it forward. Okay, so here we go. Uh, I'm telling you, we're going to have a rough night tonight because of the fact that I have to do this differently. I can't draw on the maps. I can't bring I usually have the web browser open, which I do behind me, but I can't. All that comes up is a black screen. There's something. I was reading up on that, by the way, just really quick, and apparently there are some apps now, especially financial apps, that prevent you from screenshotting stuff as an added security measure, which is fine and dandy for the app. But the problem is the setting turns it on for everything. So I don't have any financial apps on my laptop. So I don't know why it's doing that. And I do have some on my phone, and my phone is synced to my computer. So I got a lot of work to do. Okay, anyhow, busy night tonight in the land of watches and warnings, as you can see it here. You have the winter storm warnings up from northern Oklahoma through Kansas, through Missouri, northern Illinois. Chicago's under a winter weather advisory. They're kind of on the edge. The models have been sort of teetering back and forth as to whether they were going to get into the big snows or not. Northwestern Indiana, southern Michigan, including, I believe, Detroit. Then you've got some advisories on either side. There's going to be some icing issues with this. Wind advisories up. I got to tell you, it's. I'm in northern Mississippi in Tupelo right now, home of Elvis's birthplace, and Joe, it's bone dry up here. They've had very little rain this winter. It's absolutely bone dry. They've had to deal with fire issues, and they've got wind advisories up, and now they've got this severe weather threat for tomorrow, which they are going to at least get some decent rain out of this, but it's coming with severe thunderstorms and a fairly elevated risk of tornadoes. You can see a large area of wind advisories. It's hard to see, but we've got wind advisories and high wind watches up. Southeast New England and the Cape, high wind watch. Back over to Suffolk County on Long Island, including Rhode Island and southeastern Connecticut. And I kind of thought maybe they'd get ahead of the game and maybe throw a wind advisory up for some inland areas for tomorrow night. But I guess they decided, you know what, let's just wait till tomorrow morning and see what's going on. But I'm thinking 30 to 40 inland, Joe, and maybe 40 to 50 along the coast as far as wind gusts are concerned for tomorrow night into very early Friday morning. It's a very fast window. that we're dealing with. It's not going to be, it's going to be for a handful of hours until the front comes through, but enough there that they could put up the advisory.
I agree. Um, LaGuardia, the Joe Rayo methodology of calculating potential high gusts. I always look at the FOOS. God, I don't know what I'm going to do when they finally phase out the NAM, but the FOOS had a boundary level wind of for tomorrow night of something like 31 or 32. Oh, I always go like one and one half the boundary level temperature boundary level winds. So I came up with like 46, 47 mph, and I could probably add a few more miles per hour to that. I think LaGuardia has a chance of seeing like 45 to 50 mile per hour gusts tomorrow night. Inland, well, I think up here where I am, here at the home base in Putnam Valley, maybe about a 40 mile per hour wind. I get concerned when it gets to like 45, 50, because my electric provider usually begins to falter once you go over that magic number 45. But it is going to be a rock'em sock'em night tomorrow night with windswept rains hitting the area. There might even be a rumble or grumble of thunder. I wasn't too impressed by the lifted indices. I mean, I'd like to see something a little below zero for a lifted index, and we had like a +1 tomorrow night for the immediate tri-state area. But there might be a flash or two of lightning or a grumble of thunder with this. And then behind that front, Joe, we'll start off on the mild side, maybe upper 40s and low to mid 50s first thing Friday morning. But by later Friday, temperatures will probably have tumbled down into the 30s most everywhere. So it looks like we're on our way toward a big drop in temperature. And then we'll go back to more seasonable levels here for the weekend. It's Washington's birthday weekend or President's Day weekend for both Saturday and Sunday. And by the actual holiday on Monday, temperatures probably most everywhere will have recovered back to about 50. I'm above freezing now. Right now, my temperature is 38. I don't expect to see temperatures fall below freezing until sometime Friday afternoon. So between now and then, and plus the fact we're expecting the rain tomorrow night, the snow, and there is snow still on both my back and front lawn. I expect a goodly amount of that, if not all of it, to be gone by the time we get to Friday. So I have first time in many weeks I'm going to actually have a full view of the grass, which has been covered since the beginning of this year, it seems.
It does seem that way. Okay, so again, kind of doing the graphics a little differently. So it's a work in progress. I can already see, one issue with regards to this particular map. It is framed out a little too small. But this is the Weather Service's wind forecast. Let me see if I could just make it a little bigger. I gotta change up. Let me transform this. No, that didn't work. I stretched it to the screen, and I'll try one more thing. All right,
Ooh,
I'm just going to
it reminds me of Silly Putty.
yes. So we'll just bring it back to the way it was. Hold on a second. Just a second. Oh, transform. It's fit to screen. Okay, so look, we'll go by colors. If you're watching this on your big screen TV, you certainly could be able to see it a lot better. So the blue area that is just off the coast there in eastern, offshore in eastern Massachusetts, and this is a forecast. I pulled up midnight. Just kind of arbitrarily picked one time frame, so the winds are going to be a little higher in some of the hours past midnight. But the areas in yellowish and orange are all gusting to 35, almost to 40 miles miles an hour. And in the darker oranges and the almost reds, we're looking at 40, 45, 50. And again, yet the darker reds, you talk about 50 plus. Again, this is just for 1 hour, but you get the idea, folks. The wind issue is going to be also inland. I mean, the gusts won't be as high, but I certainly could see gusts up in the 30, 40 mile an hour range. Now, where we're dealing with the potential for some snow tonight, I'm doing WPC's 4-inch or better probability. And there's a fairly large, though narrow, area of the probability of at least 4 that runs from right to about Kansas City. Ms. Svalorite, who is on the chat board tonight, telling us what the Weather Service local forecast is over there. So she's going to see a decent snowfall in Kansas City, northern Missouri through central Illinois, northwestern Indiana, and then going on up into Michigan. And you'll notice that the 4-inch plus line goes well north and west of upstate New York, although there are some 50%, 40 to 50% probabilities just kind of skimming the northern areas in and around Lake Ontario and up in upstate New York, well up into the Adirondacks, and going up into northern Vermont, and then cutting up in through northwestern Maine. The other issue is going to be the probability, and I pick the probability of at least a tenth of an inch of freezing rain. Because there will be a narrow band of freezing rain in a changeover zone just south of the heavy snow area, and you see it there in southeast Missouri, and southeastern Kansas, central Missouri, central Illinois, and just south of the heavy snow area in northwest Indiana, where we've got probabilities of 30 to maybe 50% of at least a tenth of an inch, and another area in northeastern Ohio. And just touching southeastern Michigan, and then heading up on the Canada side there near Toronto, getting into the edge of some of the freezing rain. And the other thing, and of course, we are in mid-February, so usually around this time of year, as the weather patterns begin to adjust to the approaching new season of spring, which is just about 5 or so weeks away, astronomically speaking, meteorologically speaking. We use March 1st, but that's a rule among weather folk. It hasn't exactly caught on to the general public. But we have a slight risk of severe weather tonight in north central Texas and through much of south central and southeastern Oklahoma. The marginal risk poking its nose into western Arkansas. And now here's the risk area for tomorrow, Joe. Enhanced risk of severe weather in central and northern Mississippi and the western half of Tennessee, a small portion of eastern Arkansas and northwestern Alabama, with the slight risk extending further east into northwest Georgia and on up into eastern Kentucky, southernmost Ohio, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, southeast Missouri, the rest of Arkansas, and the northern half of Louisiana. And going with this, SPC has a 10% or greater chance. This is the probability of a tornado within 25 miles of any particular point inside the hatch zone. There, 10% probability, which is a relatively high number. And then you've got the 5% even edging up into parts of Kentucky. So tomorrow could be an interesting severe weather day as the season pretty much gets underway now in the southern part of the United States.
Now you're down. You're staying with relatives, I presume, right?
I'm at my sister's.
Now, and how long has she been down there?
Oh, she's been down here for God, plus over 25 years.
Now, has she ever seen a severe thunderstorm capable of actually spawning a tornado in her?
I don't think so. I think there have been a number around this area. And it's fairly flat here, and a lot of wide open territory with not a whole lot of trees, and it's also bone dry, as I said, because of the lack of rainfall that they've had over the winter months. But oddly enough, I don't recall her ever telling me that she actually saw a funnel cloud here. But they've had some rock'em sock'em type thunderstorms that she's experienced, but I don't think she's ever seen a tornado. By the way, Joe Rayo's monitoring the chat board tonight, so if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them there, and we'll try to address them. You can use your Gmail account if you're new to this channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel, the Joe and Joe Show, on usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights at 7:30 and Sundays at 11 a.m. But this is one of those strange weeks since we both have lives, so sometimes real life does get in the way. So that's why there was no show the last couple of nights. Normally we are on Monday and Tuesday, and actually there wasn't going to be a show tonight, but my schedule kind of changed today, so we were able to do it. So just subscribe with your Gmail account. You'll get a notification that the show is coming on. If you're on my Facebook page or on Joe Rayo's Facebook page, if you don't get the YouTube notification, you'll get the Facebook post. If not, you get the Twitter post. And if you're on my subscription platform on Patreon, you always get the Patreon post pretty much just after YouTube sends out its notification. So anyway, that's a way to cover yourself. And if you like the show, thank you very much for hitting the like button. We love when we go over 100 likes. So if you could send us over the 100 like threshold, it will be it will be a good thing, and we will thank you for it. So
Alfred K. Phillips says that it was 13 below zero at his house this morning, and I said somebody asked on the chat board. I'll ask the same question. I think it's late enough now in the year. Yeah, the sun is up. The sun is over the horizon where he is located, and in fact, we're only about a month away from the equinox. So the days are rapidly. If you live in a place like Alaska or northern Canada, the days are rapidly increasing now. The amount of daylight is rapidly increasing from day to day. It's quite noticeable. So, but still, 13 below zero this morning, up there in the vast 49 state.
Yes, exactly. And just trying to get a satellite loop up here. I just added it. Let's see if I can bring it up on the screen. Come on. Come on, a little bit more. See, the other way was a lot easier, Joe, because I could just, just bring it up on the screen rather than I have to add it to a folder here. So let's see if I did it right. No, that didn't look right. Let's starting all over again. There's your probabilities, and nope, I guess not. I I had a whole bunch of maps here. Where'd they go? I'm going to go backwards. Right, that's for later in the show. I got all sorts of exciting things here. No, didn't work. Okay. So let me get us back up full screen. I was trying to bring up the satellite loop and the radar loop, but it's not letting me. It's part of the issue that we.
If you want to, if you would like, if you can allow me to share the screen, I can go and put up the satellite and the radar.
Oh, that would be most helpful. And if you could put up
Yes.
tropical tidbits after that, that would be great. Now let's see. Here's the thing. I don't know if the share screen is going to work. So let's see if it works. All right, it's on. So
Right.
You go ahead and do your worst.
Let's see if I can. Well, first off, hang on for 1 second. Let me just go to the goes. Now, what do you want? The entire United States satellite view, or
Yeah, that would be good. If you could set it up to 36 frames, that would be even better.
well, let's see. I have to do one thing at a time here. So we'll do the. I tell you what, I've on this site. What I normally do is I go via the sectors. Now, there's all of Canada. Why do they have all of Canada? I could bring up all of Canada, but I can't bring up the entire United States.
Okay, so if you're on the CONUS page, like the one I use, correct?
Correct. Oh,
Okay.
wait a minute. There you go. There you go. All right.
You go to CONUS.
There you go. Yep. All right. So that's. See, I never use that, Joe. So that's.
Well, see, you learn something new every day, Joseph. It's all about technology.
Precisely.
All right.
So here we go. How does that look?
All right. Well, you got a black screen there. It says Joe Rayo started sharing the screen, and now we have a black screen.
It says I'm screen sharing.
Yeah, see, this is the problem I'm having. I have something that has come into my system that is blocking. So unshare.
All right. Stopping the share. Looked like a beautiful satellite picture, I might add, but
No, I understand. See, I get mad when stuff like this happens to
See,
me because I
so
am
we
not.
can't. So obviously we cannot show or share any screens, any photographs, any movies,
Nope.
nothing,
I have some.
nothing.
I preloaded some maps and then I forgot to load that. I just did it now and it didn't want to take it, so I don't know why it's doing that and not being cooperative. Now let's see if I can get us back. Get us back.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. Yep. Oh, now we're up and down. There you are. All right. Look. So
Oh,
what?
you're
What?
down there, right?
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go.
And you're up there. Okay. So see, I still have to figure out all these new quirks, and at the same time, I got to solve this. Why did this have to happen now? Why is beyond me. At least if I'm sitting in my own house, it's like I could spend the time. But I'm running around like a chicken without a head down here, and I haven't been able, haven't had the time. Okay, so uh, this system plays through. It's going to go to our west, obviously, deepening low across the northern parts of the Ohio Valley. It heads up to western New York. I didn't. We're going to get some heavy downpours Thursday night in eastern PA to southern New England down to northeastern Virginia, but I don't think it's enough to cause any flash flooding issues. It looked to me like it was going to be on the order of about a half an inch to an inch, and that should just about do it. It's just going to come through, do its thing, and then it'll be gone. And weather conditions would improve. We've got a weak cold front that's coming through the east over the weekend. But I didn't think there was going to be very much with that on Saturday. The air behind it is not even the air behind it is about the same as the air in front of it, so there really isn't too much of a temperature change. And as you pointed out earlier, temperatures are going to be, for the most part, back to seasonal. And that's the one big change from the pattern that we've had was the fact that we would go well below normal behind these weather fronts as we're going through and as these weather systems that impacted us. And then this time around, we don't have any Arctic air anymore. It's more polar and it's modified by the time it gets here. And it's just not going to get you're not going to get into that brutal cold and teens and single digits and so on.
Yeah, it's not going to be a case where we're going to have a protracted spell of frigidity like we had a couple of weeks ago, where the daytime temperatures are in the teens and the nighttime lows are down in the single digits to near zero. By the way, I was reminded of the fact that it was about 3 years ago that we had exceedingly cold temperatures here in the Northeast. My temperature 3 years ago yesterday, -9 degrees, and New York Central Park actually got all the way down to zero. And I'd completely forgotten about that. But it was very, very cold here just a few years ago. And now here we are expecting temperatures for the upcoming President's Day weekend. They'll be seasonable, around 40 or so Saturday and probably Sunday, and then back up to near 50 when we get to President's Day on Monday. No President's Day snowstorm this year, Joe. You and I both remember the two President's Day snowstorms in 1979 and again in 2003, which dumped a whole heck of a lot of snow over parts of the viewing area.
Yes,
Not this year, though.
that it did. Not this year. Now I think I figured out something here. Hang on a second. I'm sorry to have to do this on the fly, but you know what? I really don't have much choice here. Let's see if this works. By the way, I had to nope, it failed. Okay, never mind. I'll figure this. I'll figure this out for the next time. By the way, I had to download Windows 11. I was so desperate because I couldn't get my stuff to work on Windows 10 that I actually had to go and uh, uh, do Windows 11. So you know what? Let's go. I'm going to bring the maps up, and to be safe, I actually can make it a little bit bigger here, and we'll just be sitting right behind everything. That's
Joe, where'd you
There you go.
go?
There you go. We're hidden. Let's put let's make sure we got the Omni logo on top, and I'm going to we'll translate over. We'll start talking about let's talk about the longer range because I've been putting forward the thesis. that we are going to see some, even though uh, the winter's over crowd, which usually they start their chants in November before winter even started. Uh, they've been out in full force, and I've been kind of on the side of, well, you know what? There's the way things have gone. I think there's room for a window of opportunity, and you and I have discussed this a few times in the last week or two, and I'm sticking to that idea that I think that there's going to be a window of opportunity. And depending now, right now the models are kind of throwing different signals, Joe, depending on when you look and which models you look at. But uh, I have up here, I believe this is the European and this is the East Pacific Oscillation. And as you know, when we talk about these teleconnections like the East Pacific Oscillation, the Pacific North America Index, the North Atlantic Oscillation, that the East Pacific Oscillation to me is the most important one. Give me a negative East Pacific Oscillation, and I'll take my chances with everything else. And in fact, January was an example of exactly that. We had an East Pacific Oscillation that was negative. That's a pressure pattern measuring pressure changes in the Eastern Pacific and in Western Canada. When that goes negative in its index, it usually means that it's favorable for cold weather to spread across Canada and into the eastern part of the U.S. And the European is forecasting that East Pacific Oscillation to go negative, and actually goes negative fairly soon, in the next within the next 5 or 6 days, and then it stays negative, and actually it gets strongly negative as we head toward the end of the month and in the beginning of March. So that's very interesting that the European is doing this. Meanwhile, you have I believe this is the GFS. I can't see because I got to move let me move the Omni logo. All right, hold on. Let me go back because this is apparently the European. So let's see what the other one. The European yesterday kind of looked like that map you just saw there. Let me go backward. And this was the GFS. So the GFS actually has a fairly negative EPO developing very soon and staying negative. So and when I looked at the 18Z GFS, Joe, I kind of understand now why it did this because of what it showed. But we'll get to that in a bit. Hopefully, I can save the map. So the European, which yesterday kind of looked like that, was uh, now maybe a little less bullish, and it doesn't want to go backwards, so I can't do anything with that. And this is, yeah, see, this is back to the European. So you can see the European there, that big dip, and then it goes up, and then it goes positive toward the end of the month and beginning of March. Now, one of these is the control, and one of these is the actual. I forgot which one was the control, but one of them actually stays negative, and I think that's the one in the green. So just to show you the difference. Now, I think, Mr. Rayo, it's all about the polar vortex. And if you look at the rotation, and this is from the 12Z run from earlier on the polar vortex, it does, and I started at day 7 and took it out to day 16. And what I'm seeing here is that the polar vortex wants to orient itself in the way that it was oriented during the month of January. It's also two things are happening at the same time. You're getting the seasonal weakening of the polar vortex in the stratosphere, which starts happening this time of year, and then until the polar vortex disappears, which it will by the time we get to May and June. And the other thing that's happening, if you look at that big dark reddish brown area that's coming around from Europe and going all the way around through Siberia, that is a big area of very warm air. So there's a stratospheric warming event that's underway as well. And I noticed that one of the runs actually split the polar vortex in two, and that it's there one to run and gone the next. But we're gonna have to look to see if that impacts the NAO, which right now is forecast to remain low positive going into the end of the month and the beginning of the month of March. But I have to tell you, if you could get the NAO to at least go neutral It could be a very interesting first 10 days of March, in my view.
Well, Tim Veltman on the chat board is talking about the fact that next week the EPO going negative, and he is forecasting based on that 6 more weeks of winter through the first week of April. On the other hand, there's Keith James who said last year the last snowstorm in Ramsey, New Jersey last year was on February 21st, folks.
Yes, and then
So
it shut down.
It could be over early. This just saying it could be over this early. So
look, if you don't get if you don't have a really truly true ridge in the west, trough in the east type scenario here, from what I've seen. It's much more transitory. It's much more variable. So here's the upper air when we look at the 500 millibar map. And now we're at. By the way, this is Mrs. Ann Sambles, just so you know. But Mrs. Ann Sambles, you'll notice during the second half of this, has that trough coming back into the eastern part of the United States and mostly ridging out in the west. The first frame on that, by the way, that's on day 11. So I just took day 11 to 16. So that's from the last few days of February and going into the first few days of March. But clearly, the ensembles are kind of going on the lines of, you know what, it might be a little more. This certainly would give you the idea that we're at the very least you're going to get into some below normal temperatures. And by the way, if you looked at, I looked at the ensembles. I keep saying ensembles because I like that it's Ms. Ensembles, but
not to be confused with Ann Landers.
Yes, but the ensembles actually had below normal temperatures east of the Rockies to the East Coast from day 7 to day 16. So that's from the middle of next week. And that corresponds, by the way, from when that polar vortex kind of lines up from Siberia to Western Canada to Eastern Canada down into the Great Lakes and Northeast. It'll be interesting to see if that's how it plays out. Now, here's the European, and the European, this is day 7. I did day 6 through day 10 here. And if you look, now there's no blocking that's showing up. It's all lower pressures over Greenland. But you'll notice the trough, how it kind of swings. It starts off in central Canada. There's a vortex that's forming up in northern Hudson Bay. So it kind of looks like it wants to make a trough out there in the west, but then that arm just sort of swings around. And what seems to be happening from what I'm looking at is that as each of these pieces of Western energy come along, they start to flatten that southeast ridge down, and that's going to be key. There's 3 of these storm systems that we're going to be dealing with that are going to track to our west, or mostly to our west. And as each one goes by, the southeast ridge gets a bit of a bigger hit. And you see it on the European especially, how it just kind of gets flattened out there over the Bahamas, and then just sort of allows the flow, the colder flow, to move a little bit deeper into the continental United States. So those are the things that you want to look for. Now, I want to.
Each disturbance is trying to tamp the ridge down a little bit.
Yes.
And the progression is, more toward pushing it a little further south and a little bit further east with the passage of time.
So give me a moment here, because I'm going to get the latest GFS run. And look, it's understood as if you've been on watching this show, you know that after day. The further out you go, obviously you're not going to take this literally, but it's one of many possibilities. The further out you go, there's a lot more variability. So we're not saying that what you're going to see on the map is exactly going to work out this way, but it does sort of explain what we were showing you with the teleconnection. So I'm just trying to load up. I'm trying to save this GIF and bring it up on the screen. So it's just taking me a bit of a moment here. So just bear with me, Joe, okay? Let's see if I can.
Critterfest Sanctuary, and I think this is a new member to the chat board. Critterfest Sanctuary, who's located here, not here, but he says, or she says, I've been living here in Western Kentucky for 7 years now, and have only gotten a couple of inches of snow, maybe 4 times, and it's always gone within 3 days or less. does anybody remember real snow? And I'm by saying Western Kentucky, Critterfest, I guess you were within range of those terrible tornadoes that hit in Western Kentucky during December. And if I recall correctly, Joe, right after that, they did have snow, significant snow, covering up the
Yeah.
debris that came on the heels of the tornadoes.
Well, look,
But
I think except say way up in upstate New York and in central and interior New England. I know certainly down where we are, Joe. We've had years where we've had snow on the ground from the middle of December through the middle of March. 13, 14 it was one of those types of winters, for example. But those are rare. In fact, it's most of the time what winds up happening is that you get uh, the situations like what we've had where you get your snowfall, and oftentimes they come closer to the end of a pattern than at the beginning of one, and then you get one of these Oh, I did it right. Then you get one of these situations where the snow gets washed away. And that's for the mid latitudes, that's really far more common. The
right,
winters where you keep the snow on the ground are pretty rare. Now, take a look at this. Take a look at this surface. And I looked at this and I thought, you know what? If we had even, the NAO is non-existent, uh, but even if it was down close to the neutral line, you could see what the negative East Pacific oscillation is doing when it starts all over again, which is going to do shortly. You'll see what I'm talking about. Because now we're toward the end of this forecast, getting closer to the end of the forecast period, where it's basically spreading out all this cold air and it's on the dry side. But when it starts again, you'll see what the negative East Pacific oscillation. So there's our system for Thursday. So that's gone. Cold front for Saturday. That's gone. Cold shot comes in behind it. That's gone. So now you've got this big high, and look how all that cold air, Joe, spreads out. It not only spreads out from the Dakotas to eastern Canada, but it just sits there, allowing for two waves to come out, and both of them are going to be rain for eastern PA to southern New England. Then the one behind it, because the southeast ridge is tamped out, it gives you the idea that maybe if it's a little bit colder and a little flatter, that you could have one of those front end thump type of things. And then here's another one that's right behind that one, with also a little bit of front end snow. And here's a fourth one that comes out. So, and that's at now we're at to March 1st. So you can imagine if we had even even if the NAO were just it's slightly positive, and which it's been all winter, and it stays slightly positive through this whole next 2 weeks, according to the forecast from overnight. But if it were to do what some of the runs that I saw were trying to bring back some blockiness, and bring the NAO down to neutral or even slightly negative. You know what? Maybe that high presses further south. Maybe those lows track further south. I don't know. Um, the PNA, the Pacific North America Index, by the way, is forecast to be not only positive, Joe, but the PNA actually strengthens as we get to the end of the month, which is what I thought was kind of interesting. So, this still, I don't like looking at the long range and making unequivocal statements about what it's going to be like, because you know what? All the long range forecasts for this winter were pretty much wrong. So I would just say the trend is your friend. That means any forecasts going forward are going to be mostly wrong, including possibly mine.
well, we'll see. As I said from the start of this season, anything beyond 3 or 4 days, take it with caution. And 9 or 10 or 11 days. It's funny. I mean, it's fun to look at what they're forecasting, what the models are suggesting 10, 12, 15 days out. Just keep it in the back of your mind that in all likelihood that's not going to verify it. That it may actually be something completely and totally and diametrically opposite to what you're looking at. But it's fun. That's what makes the whole game fun, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah, what fun would it be if those long range forecasts were actually right?
Yes.
It wouldn't be. Oh, unless
Yeah.
of course, they would follow the snow weenies rule, which means that much below normal temperatures from November to May, and even that is probably not enough to satisfy them. So And by the way, on the I saw earlier, Paul Roman. I saw somebody say you took a fall, so I hope you're okay. If I misread that, I apologize. But if I didn't want to not say anything after I saw that on the board. 112 likes, close to 300 folks on the show tonight, which is really great. And of course, if you ever missed the show, you could always watch it on the repeat because it's on the my YouTube library. So I think, Joe, that we're going to wrap it up tonight because I'm kind of tired after a long day. Tom
And
Contino,
no, yes.
in apology, Joe, he's buying you a cup of tea at $5. Okay, which is what I call Starbucks. I used to call it $4, but now with inflation, you got to at the very least say $5. Thank you, Tom, for hitting super chat. We love you too, most appreciated. And yeah, I did this. This was kind of on the fly, so I'm gonna hopefully have some time tomorrow to uh, try to work out all these technical uh, kinks. Either that, Joe, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what I usually do when I get to a point where I can't solve a problem. I just stop trying to fix it, and then I'll wake up one morning and magically it will work again.
Well, you could try that if you'd like. I've tried that myself, but rarely does it ever work out in my favor. So it may not work out in your favor too. But are we gonna? You think we'll have a show tomorrow night, or?
Um, I'm gonna
I
try.
mean,
Okay, I'll
I
do it.
mean,
Look, let's just say I'm gonna. I would like to have one because of the severe weather here. Okay,
yes.
so and plus with what's going on back in the Northeast, and also what's here is going to go to Georgia. Uh, so I would like to do. I would like to do that. Uh, but I'm not sure the timing of everything because I want to drive back tomorrow before the storms hit to get back to Georgia so that I could get back to my house. And my dog is not with me. JJ isn't with me, so I miss him.
Really?
Yeah, I left him at my daughter's house.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's having a blast there with my grandsons and with all the squirrels in the backyard. He's constantly on patrol. Normally the chairman, he did give me I think I got a Briller Jeopardy somewhere, or maybe you got it, but we're going to hold off on that, getting back to some semblance of normalcy until I get back to some semblance of normalcy, and we'll bring that back in a day or two when I get back to my usual place of residence. So.
Okay.
All right. So everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for putting up with some of the technical errors. I'll try to get them all worked out, and keep your fingers crossed. Still, we'll have a show tomorrow night with all the severe weather going on. And again, thanks to those of you who are here for the first time on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Remember, we're on 5 days a week. Usually Sunday through Thursday at 7:30, and I'm sorry, Monday through Thursday at 7:30 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, except that when we've got stuff going on, we tend to move the show around. So we try to let everybody know. Um, so there. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up. Oh, that I I'm on Central Time. Okay, Joe, you'd love Central Time. The European starts at noon. So even when you go to daylight saving time, it starts at 1. Which we'll be doing in a couple of weeks. So, but you'd love it
Don't
here.
remind me.
The European starts at noon, the GFS at 9:30, the NAM at 8:30. Gives you plenty of time to look at the guidance before you have to hit your deadline times, which come an hour earlier anyway. So, all right, nighty night, everybody.
Au reservoir.